Hello, Superboy Beyond fans. Welcome back. It's Chris and Tom here today with part 2 of the final Bizarro arc in Superboy, the series, which is To Be Human. So we watched part 1 last week. We're going to watch part 2 this week. We're just going to get right in. For those of you just joining us, you recall you're not going to have any clips of the episode in our episode. There's going to be a very heavily filtered version right up there, okay? Just so you can keep in track with us, because we know life happens and you might have to pause the video. You want to keep in track with us. So just get your disc ready. This is disc 2 of season 4, and this is episode, what number is it, Tom?
Episode 12.
Episode 12. So I'm going to count you in with a 3, 2, 1 chaos. Okay. So get ready, guys. 3, 2, 1 chaos.
And here we go. So yeah, this is the concluding part to probably the best Bizarro story in the show. Definitely in terms of the writing, you know, I think Bride of Bizarro is a great two-parter. I think it's a lot of fun, but it's not got the greatest writing. I think this one it ups it slightly.
Yeah, I mean that all has to do with the fact that it's J.M. DeMatteis who wrote the two-parter here.
Yeah.
And we have our in the previous episode montage.
I love that shot of the outside of the Bizarro house. Like, I wonder if that was a miniature or something that they'd made, or if it was actually like somebody actually built that thing. Because it didn't look like a digital sort of composite thing. It looked like a physical object. I guess they were shooting in Florida, and we all know there's a lot of crazy people in Florida. Maybe it was some crazy person's house that they bought so they could blow it up.
I don't know about that. I think it was just something that they constructed.
It looks good though. Yeah. And considering Superboy's budget, they clearly spent a bit of money on it. I imagine, you know, it was just a flat wall. Like it was. You look around the other side, guarantee the other walls of that house weren't built, but yeah. See what Matt just said there, though. I wish that was a bit more of a focus. Just the other things that Chaos has done and the impacts that it's made, like putting like hallucinatory drugs into the reservoir to basically make everybody in Capital City start tripping out. Like that could be an interesting episode on its own. I'm thinking like the end of Batman Begins when the Scarecrow toxin takes over Gotham and everybody's basically fighting each other. But I guess that would be quite an expensive episode. Would need a lot of extras.
Indeed.
It is funny, but when Douglas is playing Bill Zorro, I don't know why he reminds me of the character Brian Moser from the Dexter series for some reason. Like just specifically the actor. I don't know what it is about him, but the actor that played the ice truck killer and Douglas, I don't know. There's a very similar thing going on with their performances. I don't know what it is though. Maybe it's just the Dexter fan in me looking for random connections. And all I can think seeing that shot with Superboy being dragged away is, oh man, that cape is going to get ruined.
Yep.
Just threads being pulled out of it. The heels of those boots have probably got big scrape marks on as well now.
They
Anyone out
probably
there?
used a suit that was already damaged.
Yeah, a stunt suit or something. But hey, if anybody out there happens to see a Superboy suit and they've got the boots intact, have a look on the back of the heels, just see if there's giant, great big scrape marks on them. Because if they are, you know which episode did it.
Yep. I have to say, Douglas as himself, looking at him, he has a nice Superman face. He could have played Superman himself.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Part of me thinks he looks more like a Bruce Wayne, though.
Yeah.
Don't know why. I just think it's that chin. You stick a cowl on him, that's Batman. That's one of the main things I look for with a Batman actor is the chin.
Yep.
Just because it's the only thing you can see of it. Other than the eyes, but if I was making a Batman film, I'd put white contact lenses on him. Like that old fan film, Batman Dead End.
Yeah.
I'm honestly amazed they haven't done that in the films already. Makes him look so much more threatening as well.
Well, the thing about film, you've got to be able to see somebody's eyes.
I mean, it worked for Deadpool, though, And in Deadpool and Wolverine, when they put the Wolverine cowl on Hugh Jackman, he had the white eyes. It works. Maybe they'll go with that sort of style when they do The Brave and the Bold.
Well,
I kind of hope they do, just to differentiate it from Patterson's Batman. But yeah, Barry would have been a good Superman. Barry, I mean Douglas, What's this actor up to these days? I haven't seen him for quite some time.
Paul McCrane, the last thing I saw him in was he had a stint on ER for a couple of years.
I hope he's still acting because he is, in my opinion, one of the better villains in Superboy. His performance is just great from start to finish. It's a shame there's not more episodes with him.
And the old saying that they've used about Sheldon Cooper, he's one lab accident away from being a supervillain. Lab accident causes him to become a supervillain.
Apparently he was in an episode of Barry in 2023. So I need to watch that episode because I did like Barry from what I've seen of it. Oh, and he was in a few episodes of Under the Dome, which is a show that I've heard is very good, but I've never actually seen.
He's still working at least.
Yeah.
He's a typical character actor.
I love that he plays it with a sense of humor. Like he'd almost be a pretty good Joker.
I think that's what they're pretty much adapting here is the Joker.
Yeah.
I still don't know about that coat he's wearing.
No, the coat is the only thing that lets it down.
It looks like
it
looks like it's made out of somebody's old blanket or a carpet.
Yeah, it's just it's the one part of the whole persona that doesn't quite work for me. And I did think it was a shame that as he left his lair just then, the word chaos wasn't lit up anymore. Like if I was him, I would just keep that lit up 24/7 because it just looks so cool. But as he left just then, it was literally just black. It might as well have been spray paint or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, even that car, I know I said it in part 1, but it's such a cool looking custom vehicle. And I can imagine the Joker driving a similar vehicle, like just maybe it's purple instead of green.
Yeah.
Purple and orange or something, you know. Yeah, I do like that Chaos actually has a sense of humor. Like, that's one of the things that I've loved about all the Superboy villains that hit my top 5, you know. Let's face it, Bizarro has a ton of humor, even though he's not quite a villain. Luther is so humorous in this show. Metallo, Mixture's Pitlick, you know. Sometimes they're just straight up evil, but yeah, I quite like it when there's actually some humor. And a clever little thing from Superboy, they're burning that into the road.
Yeah, I'm kind of weirded out that he would actually put it in script.
Yeah, very neat handwriting. You think he would just sort of block letters, basically, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because it's quite hard to read.
And of course, Matt, even though he's supposed to keep Lana there,
Yeah.
he's letting her get away.
I love Matt. He's just such a fun character, you know. He's just, you know, the good guy in the office, isn't he?
Yeah.
He always does the right thing. Except maybe in Sons of Icarus, but as soon as he found out people were getting hurt because of what they were doing, he stopped. You know, as far as he knew, he was just having fun with his friends flying. He finds out about the fire demon or whatever it was, you know. It changed things for him. Interesting monitor on the side there. It's an actual CRT style monitor, but it's actually widescreen. I've never ever seen that.
Mm.
And I don't even think it was 16:9. It was a very odd widescreen. Like, it's got to have been like specialty equipment or something. From that angle, it doesn't look widescreen, but when you had the wide shot from directly from the front, wow.
Mm.
I always think as well, when I see a set surrounded with like tons and tons of monitors and none of them are switched on, I just always think to myself, oh, that's probably faulty equipment they've got for next to nothing, you know, just so they can decorate the set.
Probably.
Yeah, go down to the local computer shop, all the stuff that's coming for repair that's unsalvageable, buy it for bulk, you know. I do like that sort of electric thing in the background with the glass. It's like a Faraday tube thing. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
It's just like lightning inside a glass bulb. It's very cool. Might not have anything to do with Faraday. I don't know where I pulled that name from. I know Faraday cages with the lightning and all of that. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a scientist, as I've made quite clear.
And I love how the cop is just dismissing everything that she's saying.
Hmm. But you know, if the cops in any of these DC cities were competent, you wouldn't have a need for the heroes.
Well,
You know.
there's competent and then there's just, dismissive.
Yeah.
You could have an entire police force that's competent and still need a superhero.
True, I guess. Yeah.
I love what she's about to do with him.
Hmm.
She's trying to convince him that going back to being Bizarro is not a bad thing.
It's funny in this moment as she's talking to him, she reminds me a lot of Stella Mae Jens as Martha Kent, especially in Rebirth. It's almost like a very similar sort of mirror of that conversation she had with Clark, like during the sunrise, about Jonathan going off to war. Like, I don't know. I wonder if that's part of why she was cast, because she does have slight similarity facially.
I'm sure that probably was what they were looking for. Somebody who looked a lot like Martha but wasn't Martha.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I really like in this episode is just how Martha-like they've made the Doctor. And now this is just great location shooting. Let's face it, often enough on Superboy, if you had like a shot outside of a skyscraper window or like on a rooftop, very often they would just blue or green screen it and it would look a bit dodgy. Like there's all those shots from inside the bureau office and it's like clearly a green screened backdrop.
Yeah.
This is real. They shot this on an actual rooftop and you can tell. I love that. Like there's actual buildings in the background. It's not just basically a matte painting. I wish they'd done that more often. This episode clearly had a higher budget than the rest of the season, you know. Maybe this is why there's so many clip shows in season 4. Because this episode ran over budget by so much. Interesting villain though, Chaos, you know. Taking the time to continue torturing Superboy and all of that, but he still puts out his hand to shake Lana's hand. I'm Chaos. Like he's introducing himself.
Well, wouldn't you if you saw a pretty lady?
I guess, but I mean, he's Chaos. He's insane. And yeah, the sacrifice that Bizarro makes here is, yeah, you can't really overstate just how much of a sacrifice that really was. Although I don't know why he couldn't keep the physical augmentations. That doesn't affect his mind. It was fake skin anyway, presumably. But no, I guess by this point, no, he's taken what she said on board. You know, if Bizarro Lana wasn't an inhuman thing, then neither is he.
I still don't understand how he goes in there in civilian clothes, and then once the ray hits him, he's in his Bizarro costume.
I guess maybe because he was created in that costume, maybe it's actually part of him in a way, which is very odd, but I think it works. Not the best tracking on the background there when he caught her. The background sort of started shaking a little bit in a strange way, but still.
Very reminiscent of his moment in RoboCop.
Do you think anyone watching this episode actually believed Bizarro was going to join him in this moment?
I don't think so.
I don't think anyone did, no. If Bizarro turned bad at that moment, I think it would have been a pretty terrible ending.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was a part 3, it might have worked, but no. It's never going to happen. Chaos didn't know who he was dealing with there. Poor Bizarro. Watch out for the boom. There's going to be a boom microphone at the top of the screen in a second. One of these shots, I'm sure of it.
Now you got me looking for it.
It will be there in a minute. Unless we already missed it. Might have already missed it. Might have been an earlier scene in that area. I just remember when I upscaled a few clips from this episode a couple years back, and a bunch of people in the comments were pointing out the booms. That's how I knew.
Yeah. See, that's something that, they don't really have to worry about too much anymore.
No.
I mean, yeah, they still use boom mics, but with CGI, you could remove it from the shot.
Yeah. There it is, and it's gone. It was there for a second, and then they moved it up. Somebody must have nudged him and said, "Move the broom." Yeah, it was there for just a second. Hopefully, people watching at home saw it. If not, go back and look for it. But right in the very last moments of that episode, and it's not the only time in that episode. There's another boom shot earlier on, but I forget where it was. Anyway, that was To Be Human Part 2. Definitely the best Bizarro story in this show.
Yep.
Even when you add the tie-in comics, I don't think that the Bizarro story in that was as good as this either.
Its moments were, but it was not exactly that good.
Yeah. We're not going to get into the comic book because we only did that last week. You've seen it by this point.
Yeah.
Yes. Should we give this a score out of 10?
Yeah, I would say.
I'd say an 8.5.
Yeah, I'd go about 8.5.
It's a very good episode. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
As we said during the episode, the guy's costume doesn't quite work. Yeah.
His performance is great.
The actor's fantastic. I love his performance. It's just that sort of weird vest thing that he's wearing. I get what they were going for, I guess, but it just doesn't quite work for me,
Yeah.
Other than that, it's a pretty solid episode, Some of the visual effects are a bit wonky, but I mean, that just comes from the budget of this show. The fact they had to get it done relatively quickly as well probably didn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a very, very good two-parter. One of the best stories.
One of the best two-parters that they've ever made.
Yeah, all 4 seasons, this is one of the best two-parters for sure. Yeah, just an absolutely phenomenal episode. James DeMatteis did a great job writing it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite James DeMatteis episode. That one probably would have to be No Line Enemy. I just think that's such a solid Lex Luthor character study that it would be hard to beat that one. But, Into the Mystery as well. Very, very good episode. Really solid story about death, which is a really touching ending.
Yeah.
He's just one of those writers that I don't think he actually did a bad episode of the show. I think every episode he wrote was a good one. I can't think of a bad one that he did, that's for sure. Do you have anything else you want to say on this episode?
No, I think we pretty much summed it up. I mean, the problems are, what we stated, special effects, a little wonky here and there.
Yeah.
I mentioned the fact that, the Bizarro costume just magically appears on Bizarro when he gets turned back into Bizarro.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to justify that in my head canon.
Yeah.
Apart from the thing that I said to you, that maybe just because he was made in the costume, that's just like his default body. So maybe the machine just reversed it to that. I don't know. But yeah.
The makeup that they had on Paul McCrane in that one sequence when he reveals that he's disfigured, For this
looks
show,
okay.
actually, is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think it looks that bad. I've seen much worse. I mean, it's supposed to look like sort of chemical burns or something, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's not quite up to the same standard as like a Freddy Krueger type burn makeup, but for the budget that this show had, I thought it looked very good. The skin looked like it was actually peeling away on the edges, which was cool. Like it looked painful. And if
Yeah.
with a makeup like that, you want it to look painful. Yeah,
And it
I thought
didn't
it was
look like,
great.
even though we both know that it was something that they just glued onto his face, it didn't look like it was just something that they glued onto his face.
Yeah, like there was little flappy bits where I'm guessing it was probably just the same material they use for a lot of special effects makeup.
Yeah.
It was like a rubbery sort of plasticky thing, but because of the way that it had peeled off, the way that it was sitting on the face, like it almost looked like a really bad sunburn in places, like the way your
Yeah.
skin peels after a terrible sunburn. It looked like that. So
Yeah.
I
And the
can't fault
fact
it.
that it was lit in almost darkness
Yeah,
helped to
they
add
they,
to.
they were very very clever with the way they lit it. I wonder if we saw that makeup in full brightness, whether it would actually look good. It might be that they had to shoot it with that kind of lighting because it's the only way. But it doesn't matter anyway because they did, and it looks great in my opinion. It's not perfect, but for a show with the budget that Superboy had, I thought it was very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I'm trying to think what else. The car, I really like his car. I
Yeah,
wonder.
until you pointed out that it was camouflage paint, for many years I thought he was doing a zebra paint job on the
It's
car.
kind of like it's like a striped camouflage, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
a yeah. I guess it was supposed to be camouflage, but it is kind of like a tiger stripe, not leopard, but yeah, zebra stripe. It it,
Yeah.
it does kind of look like that. It's very. I guess it's very chaotic in the way that it's painted. But I love the fact that there's no roof on it. It's got that thing going around so he can shoot from the top of the car and all of that. Like,
Yeah.
I have to wonder whether that was an existing vehicle before the episode that they just rented for the day. Like, maybe it's from, like, I don't know, demolition derby or something.
Could be.
I I don't know. I wonder what the origin of that car was because I don't think Superboy would have had the money to modify a vehicle to that extent. It's not quite the Back to the Future DeLorean level of modification, but it's not a small
It's up
amount.
there. Yeah.
It's significant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, really, really great episode. Great two-parter. I don't have anything else to say on this one.
Yep. Neither do
Yeah.
I.
Thank you all so much for watching. That's an 8.5 for To Be Human. Next week, we'll likely be doing a Beyond commentary. Not sure what it will be yet. Maybe we'll go back to the Kirk Allens. That could be fun. We'll see.
Where do we stop on Kirk Allen?
We've done the first 3 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, so episode 4. And who knows? We'll probably enjoy it so much we'll end up watching episode 5 as well.
And 6.
But, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to postpone watching the last 2 episodes of Superboy before we start over from episode 1, just purely because I know it's a shame to end this current run. Crazy to think we would have done commentaries on 100 episodes of Superboy at that point.
Yeah.
When you add in all the extra things that we've been doing commentaries on, that's a lot of content. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yep.
We'll get to Rites of Passage eventually, but we'll go on a bit of a detour for a little while. Watch some other DC.
A significantly long detour.
Yeah. Maybe we'll watch an Adam West Batman or something. We could watch like the first 2 episodes of that. We would have to do the first 2 episodes just purely because of the cliffhangers,
Yeah, definitely the first 2. It's got Jill St. John in it.
Yeah, that's the episode with that's the episode with Joker and the gimmicked machines, as they keep saying.
No, it was the Riddler.
Or was it the Riddler? I thought it was the one where Joker escapes prison right at the start with like a giant spring platform.
No, I think that was later.
I don't know. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but yeah, we'll go ahead. Maybe we'll watch some Adam West Batman soon.
Yep.
Thank you all so much for watching. See you next week. Goodbye.